Hey guys, I thought I would make a video series in which I go over Python because Python is a very important language to learn, especially in the modern day, because it is free and there are several packages for it that have been written, such as NumPy and SciPy, that are incredibly powerful tools used by scientists and engineers in the industry to solve partial derivatives and plot functions and do lots of fancy stuff that is quite useful. And if you understand MATLAB or you've programmed before in C, the transition should also be pretty straightforward. It can be a bit complicated getting started, and so that's why I'm making this video. And so the first thing you'll do if you are interested in running Python is you'll go to python.org, you'll go to downloads, and you'll download the appropriate version of Python you need. In this example, I'm going to be using Python 3.6.5, but of course new versions will be released eventually. And so the first thing you'll do is you're going to install this package, and there's nothing too special you need to do during the installation process other than just running the executable. And then the next thing we'll do is we're going to need to have it's not called a compiler like in other languages, but an interpreter. And so Python uses interpreter to actually run, and in this case you need some kind of interface in which to write your code in Python. And so PyCharm is a very commonly used interpreter, and so I am going to be using the free community edition of PyCharm in these examples, and the installation process is also very straightforward in that regard. And then finally, in terms of examples and very helpful problem sets that I find have helped me a lot, is a website referred to as practicepython.org. And it's written by Michelle, and these are excellent examples, especially for people who are new to programming or already have experience programming, to just be able to start understanding how Python works and get a feel for like what functions do what and how you implement things, and the slight differences in syntax with other languages. And so after we finish installing Python 3.6 as well as PyCharm, the installations are very straightforward. I just cut them out for the sake of brevity. You don't need to make any special changes or add any plugins just for getting started, and you can always add those later. What we'll have now is the Python console here, and for those of you who are used to MATLAB's command line, this is where we can run functions and call built-in Python functions such as print, and we can do the hello world example. And we just ran our first Python command, so we can close that. And now if we wanted to do more complicated stuff such as defining functions and writing scripts, we do that through PyCharm. And so in PyCharm, if this is your first time running the program, you will be brought to a welcome screen in which you'll be asked to create a new project such as this. And before we do that though, we'll need to configure settings and define the project interpreter. And so you can type in the search bar project interpreter, and which should find the built-in Python file. And if it doesn't, that's okay. We can navigate to it right here. We go to System Interpreter and click OK. So this is going to add it in. We're going to click OK, and after you click Apply, we now have our interpreter running. So we're going to click OK here, and now we're going to create a new project. We can call this whatever you want. I am very original, and I will call it Project 1 Create. And we will be brought to this screen. And because I don't like having to close windows all the time, after this thing finishes turning on, I will uncheck the box to show tips on startup, and I'll continue this once it finishes indexing. Okay, and so now that our project interpreter has been successfully loaded in PyCharm, we can now open up the program, and now that we've created our project as well, that project's interpreter has now been set to Python. We'll right click, go to new, and we're going to create a Python file. We can call this whatever we want. I will call this main.py. Click OK. And it is at this point that we can now begin defining Python scripts. And the nice thing with PyCharm is that we don't need to worry about having it will auto-complete quotations as well as closing parentheses. And so you'll note here that this green arrow is not set to run just yet. So what we can do is right click and then go to run main, and we see what we expect, which is hello world here, and you can modify this to your heart's content, and we can add in some other strings to print. I will go a bit deeper into the basic functions in Python later on, but this is some cool stuff to begin with. And so click run again, and we can see how our console has changed appropriately. And so this concludes a basic introduction into how to get started with Python, as well as installing Python, so that we can have an environment in which we can begin to write functions and have a command line in much the same way as we have in MATLAB. And so I hope you guys find this useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.